Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. I am your host, Lou Perica, and I am a success mindset mentor. And what I do is I help people go from where they are to where they want to go and create permanent transformation through a proven step by step process using your own pre installed tools. So many people get frustrated because no one has taught us how to think. We've been taught what to think, but we have not been taught how to think. We've also never been taught what our mental tools are, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. We haven't been taught how to study the mind and about achieving goals. So that's what I'm doing with these trainings is to raise your level of awareness on how to use the most powerful force in creation, which is your mind. And of course, I'll be bringing back my stick person. So again, thank you for joining me. The past couple of classes, I've been really talking about thoughts and using my stick person. So today's class is how to control your thinking for a successful life. Now, everyone has a different idea of what they think a successful life is for them. But I think most of us can agree that we want to be happy, we want to be healthy, we want to be free to live the life that we desire, and we want to have the finances to support that desire. And 2023 is around the corner, and many of us are going to be getting ready to start business and personal goals once again, right? But whether it's business, health, relationships, finances, happiness, etc., these are all effects of what is going on within. Within is the cause, and this is the universal law of cause and effect. But we've been conditioned to think that we can change the effect with goal setting and New Year's resolutions, resolutions. And these can sometimes work, but typically they are temporary. So to have permanent, lasting effects, we must go to the root cause, which starts with our thinking. One of my favorite quotes, when I heard this, at first I didn't understand it, but the more I studied me, the more I got to understand this quote and realize the truth behind it. And it's by a gentleman named Buckminster Fuller. And any of my friends or my clients or people I speak to, I pretty much always bring up this quote. You never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. And again, when we are trying to change our results, what we're doing is trying to change an effect that's already happened. It's already happened. It's from yesterday's thinking and past thinking. That is the result. It's just like trying to change the time you woke up this morning. It doesn't work. What we need to do, if we want to create new results, we must create a new model. And again, I'm going to be talking about this, and this will bring clarity to you. So if you want to change and have significant results in your life, we need to learn, understand, and use our mental tools, which we all have. We all have been pre-installed with them. We need to understand, we truly need to understand that we were all engineered to create and succeed. We were not created to be miserable, to be anxious, to be depressed, to worry, to doubt, to live in scarcity. Like, really think about that. We're the highest form of creation. We have everything already pre-installed in us. And this is what we're going to be talking about today. But change starts with the burning desire. You must truly want something, or, the want. And I realized this the other day. So not necessarily the want, but who do you want to be? What traits do you want to have? What characteristic traits do you want to have? You get to shape who you want to be. Who we are today really is from someone else's opinions, right? Our self-image has really been handed down to us. So we have been living by someone else's opinions, habits, experiences, and we picked it up since we were babies. But with these trainings, and what I'm trying to do with people is to have them really understand you get to create who you want to be. You get to say who you are, not what someone else did in the past. So the change starts with the burning desire, and then you need to have an irrevocably committed decision for the change, followed with discipline, a word that I never used to like, but now I understand discipline is freedom. I know I used to cringe when I used to hear the word discipline and accountability. Repetition, persistence, faith, and of course, action. So let's get started. What are these mental tools I talk about? But let me bring in my little stick person first. So hello for everybody who's joining me. Again, we don't have a picture. No one's ever seen the mind. The mind is not a noun, it's a verb, it's activity. The mind is in every cell of our body. So when we think negatively, we are affecting every cell in the body negatively. This is why it's so important. This is why when you hear about stress, it affects the body. But the body is an expression of what is going on in the mind. So there's kind of like three parts to the mind, if you will, and the body being one part. It's the physical part. So the top half is our conscious mind. Okay, this is an image for you because again, no one's ever seen the mind. So without an image, there's confusion. So this brings clarity. So this top half is the thinking mind. It's the conscious mind. This is where we get to accept and reject ideas. The lower half is the subconscious mind. This is where our programming, our beliefs are here in the subconscious mind. The top half, where we get to create ideas, where we get to choose our thoughts, this takes effort. And 2 to 4% of our results come from us thinking. Are you ready for this? 96 to 98% of our results come from the subconscious mind because this is habit. This is autopilot because the majority of us, we're not thinking. We think we're thinking, but we are not thinking. And all of this activity is expressed through the body. Think about when you, if you're angry, if you have angry thoughts, those thoughts, your body's like, is expressed through the body. It will be expressed through your words. Most likely, if you're really angry, if you're really pissed off at someone, you're not going to be saying, oh, have a lovely day. I love you, right? It is expressed, that anger is expressed through your words. It's expressed through your facial expressions. It's expressed through your body movements. Maybe you walk and you're stomping, you might be slamming doors. So everything that our behavior is just an expression, again, of what's going on here. This is why we need to understand the mind. So again, let's get into our mental faculties. But we're going to go back to when we're children, okay? This part here is the gatekeeper. I call this the gatekeeper. When we were children, this whole top half plus the gatekeeper really didn't exist. It wasn't developed, if you will. Again, even though it's something you cannot see, it really wasn't developed. So the whole bottom half here, the subconscious mind was wide open, and the subconscious mind cannot reject. Just like the top half can accept or reject, the bottom half cannot reject. It must take in whatever's coming through. And it also doesn't know the difference between what is real and what is imagined. So when we were children, the first like 7 years of our lives, we were in a hypnotic state. We did not have the ability to accept or reject ideas. So everything went into the subconscious mind. This is why we are so programmed by our environment, by the people we were with, by TV, etc. Right? It was all planted there. So what was I saying? I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Oh, so this is our five senses, right? We all know about our five senses. We were taught about our five senses, what we hear, see, taste, touch, and smell. And we receive information through our five senses. Our five senses, the job is really to tell us when there's danger. They're there to translate beautiful things, and to experience life. The problem is because we've been taught to live by our five senses, we end up living a life that someone else or something else has chosen for us. We end up living from the outside in, and this is very disempowering. Again, we're the highest form of creation. And when we develop our mental faculties that we're going to get into, we start living from the inside out. We either learn how to control our outside circumstances and conditions, or they will control us. So let's get into it. These mental faculties, these six mental faculties, can be referred to as intellectual faculties, your mental muscles, your mental tools, your superpowers. And, there's quite a few names, but really they're all doing the same thing. So here they are. It's the will, perception, memory, imagination, intuition, and reason. Now, these higher faculties separate us from all the other little creatures. And if you are like me, I've heard of the words before. I kind of knew what they did, but I didn't pay really any attention to them until I started to study. And I understand those mental faculties, those mental muscles separate us. This gives us control over our thoughts. And I mentioned in the description, sometimes we can't control our first thought, but we can control the next thought. Because if we don't control that first thought, what will happen? It starts to snowball, right? It picks up momentum. And we just keep thinking and thinking and thinking, and we do become what we think about. So let's get into the first one, the will. And these mental faculties live up here, so to speak, okay? This is, again, where we create ideas, where we have the ability to think, where we can accept and reject ideas. It's all happening up here. This part is our habits, our programming, our conditioning, our beliefs, our autopilot. So we must control what's going on up here before it goes down here. So this is the accept or reject bar that I call it. This is the gatekeeper, okay? So the will gives us the ability to focus and concentrate on one thing to the exclusion of all outside distractions. But the will is not to be confused with willpower. If you think of willpower as a gas tank, you start your day off with the full amount of fuel, but by the end of the day, the fuel starts running low because you've been using your willpower to get through something. And many times we use our willpower to release weight, to try to change a result of something, to discipline ourselves, etc. But typically, the change is temporary and cannot be sustained. It's actually very exhausting when you use your willpower, right? And especially with the new year coming up, resolutions. How many of us, oh, I'm going to release weight. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And you're using your willpower. But come the end of January, even if you get that far, it's usually after the first or second week, you give up, right? So the difference is the will is the ability to focus and concentrate on something, and willpower is like fuel. So how do we, I'm going to give you a little exercise to develop and strengthen the will. So just like if you don't use this muscle, it'll get weak, but the more you use it, the more strength you will have. So practice. My mentor told us to put a little dot, sit in your favorite chair. You put a little black dot on the wall, make it small. Um, or when you light a candle, focus on the dot or focus on the flame as long as you can. As your mind starts to drift, and most likely you'll only be able to focus for 1 or 2 seconds, right? Bring it back. This is why meditation is important. When you're relaxing, your mind starts to drift. Bring it back. Bring it back. This is an exercise. This is the exercise of the will. We have to strengthen that muscle. But it takes practice. And what happens is the paradigm, the beliefs, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that, right? This takes effort to think. To use these mental muscles, this takes effort. This is why only 2 to 4% of our results come here, because this is autopilot. This is the voice that's saying, nah, let's not do that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to have to do that. This is why we get 96 to 90%, 96 to 98% of our results through habit. All right. Our thoughts drift all day long. The will brings it back to what you want to concentrate on. We're constantly being distracted, by so much throughout our day, by our outer world, right? Our five senses are picking up all the distractions, the social media, the TV, what's going on in the government, is there a recession, on and on and on. Oh, so-and-so, she's such a jerk, I don't like her. Whatever it may be, the five senses are picking it up, and it's going. And if you don't reject those ideas, those conversations, they just keep seeping into the subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind, yep, we're right on track. We're worried about the economy. We're worried about our business. We're worried about our health. Okay, we're all good. This is habit again. And the more we become enslaved to our habits in our outer world, the weaker we become. We become playthings for the outer world. So the more distractions that we have, our patience and our concentration becomes weaker and weaker. The next one is our perception. This is how we see the world through our lenses. It's our point of view, and each and every one of us has our own perception, because we've all had our own experiences. Even if you grew up in the same family with the same parents in the same house, each child will have a different perspective on their parents, the way they were raised, on the other siblings, this, that, and the other thing. So we all have our very own perception. And again, it's our experiences and our beliefs down here that shape our perception. But our perception can be limiting if we don't stretch it. I, what I found funny, my husband and I, we drove from Maine to Georgia, whenever we did it, September, October. And the drive was about 20 hours. And prior to that drive, the longest I could really drive was maybe an hour or 2 hours. I would get hypnotized by the road. So the thought of my perception of driving 8 hours. I didn't know how we were going to do it. I was almost like exhausted just thinking about the trip. But what has happened is we ended up doing the trip within 2 days. The first day we drove 12 hours, and just a confession, I didn't drive, but I did the directions and the whole bit. So the first day we drove 12 hours, and the next day we drove whatever 6 or 8 hours. My point is now when we go somewhere, like if we want to take a road trip in Georgia and it's whatever 4, 5, 7 hours away, I don't think anything of it now, because what has happened was my limiting belief, oh, I can only drive an hour or two, was stretched. This is what happened. My perception of will I be able to drive that long was stretched. Now I don't think anything of it. So, see, this is why, again, stretching, going out of our comfort zone. So, here's an exercise for perception. Try to see things from another's point of view. So sometimes we may be stuck in a thought or a situation and we just can't seem to figure out an answer. The problem is because we're stuck in our own head, okay, with our own beliefs, with our own past experiences. So what we do is we go to someone else's perception. And this is kind of like what masterminding is about too. Think of someone, if you have a situation, what I tell my clients to do is first write it out on paper. Get it out of you. Look at it objectively. Don't be emotionally connected. And then think about someone that maybe you admire. Maybe it's someone who's successful, someone who's wiser, etc. And it can be someone who's living or someone who has passed. It could be someone that you know. It could be a celebrity. It could be a past teacher. It doesn't matter who it is, but as long as it's someone else and you think, what would so and so do? So, what you're actually doing is you are tapping into the mind of that other person. How do they think? Because we are thinking the same thoughts. We're thinking the same thoughts, but we have the ability to think into someone else's thoughts. So this is really a great exercise. And this is why so many of us, when we have different opinions about things, we quarrel, we fight. We're never going to really to change someone else's. I just froze for a second. I think I'm back. So the next one, our next mental faculty is our memory. This is the ability to recall something that has happened. We all have a perfect memory. We don't exercise the muscle, but we really do have a perfect memory. The problem is we typically use this faculty against ourselves, right? We remember a lot of stuff from the past. So let's get it to work for us and not against us. Try to recall the good. Recall what will serve you moving forward. Do not let your old story control you. I just did a training at the library about, is your old story still controlling you? And I can tell you the majority of people, the answer would be yes. So here's the exercise to strengthen your memory muscle. Recall what you did during a certain time of the day. Maybe it's a conversation that you had. Try to recall in detail what that conversation was, or try to recall what you did today or a week or a month ago. And I can all hear you now, right? I can't remember what I did 10 minutes ago. Because we say that over and over, we've become conditioned to not even give it any effort This is efficiency. This is ease. This is effort. So we don't even try to recall something, right? I can't even think. I have a terrible memory. And I've been guilty of saying that too. So this takes exercise. It takes exercise to build that mental muscle. The next one is the imagination. Napoleon Hill, who wrote Think and Grow Rich, if you have not read that book, I highly recommend you read that book because I can tell you a lot of the information that I'm sharing with you comes from that book because my mentor studied, not read, but studied that book for every day for 60 years. Um, but Napoleon Hill said that the imagination is the most powerful, most miraculous, inconceivably powerful force that the world has ever known. Albert Einstein said, imagination is more important than knowledge. Knowledge is limited. Imagination encircles the world. We are all creative and we use our imagination. Unfortunately, just like our memory, we tend to use it against ourselves by imagining the worst. After childhood, when we're children, it's okay. Yeah, use your imagination. Oh, isn't it cute? Isn't it cute? But after a certain time, we were taught to be realistic. We were taught to pay attention, listen to me, eyes up front, stop daydreaming, stop fantasizing, get your head out of the clouds. So, our imagination, when we're adults, we kind of think of it for children. And if an adult uses their imagination, sometimes we think they're off in fantasy land. So it's so powerful, but it's such a shame because it disempowers us. This imagination is what takes you from here to where you want to go. So everything starts with imagination. Just like on the other day, my class, everything starts with an idea, a thought. Everything starts with imagination. Think about it. Look around you. Everything that you hear, see, taste, touch, smell, etc., it started with someone's imagination. If we didn't use our imagination, we would still be probably walking around with animal skins and clubs, right? We must use the imagination. This is what Okay, I'm back. I lost the internet, so I'm back. Now, if I can remember where I was, I think it was on imagination. Okay, so again, this is where our dreams start, right? Based on our imagination. Think about, use your imagination. What is it that I really truly want? What is it that I truly desire? Who do I want to be? How much money do I want to earn? What would I do with that money? What kind of relationships do I want? What type of lifestyle do I want to live? What kind of house do I want to live in? What kind of car do I want to live in? This is all using your imagination. Again, if you think the same thoughts day in and day out, how do you think differently? You must go to your imagination. There is a place. There is a place. So the exercise would be, oh, I'm sorry, that was the exercise. My apologies. To think about what it is that you want, where you want to live, who you want to be. Or the other thing you can do is take an everyday object. Now, I've heard this, I haven't done this, just to be honest. Take an everyday object, whatever it may be, and think of different ways that you can use that object. Again, stretch the imagination. Go there, go there. The next one is your intuition. We are all vibrational beings and we pick up vibrations. This is what our five senses do. It's interpreting vibrations. So we pick up vibrations. It can be a thought, a gut feeling, something that you sense, something that you smell. It could be a quiet voice. Intuition is also so much stronger than your intellect. It's a knowing. It's been said your intuition is when God is talking to you. So here's an exercise for your intuition. When you think of someone, call them. When they pick up, ask them, hey, I just wanted to reach out to you. I've been thinking of you. By any chance, were you thinking of me recently? See what they say. When you get an idea, explore it. Start to trust your intuition. The more you exercise it, the more you will listen to it. But most of us are just rejecting, rejecting, rejecting. That intuition is guiding us. It's guiding us, telling us, try this, go here, do this, meet this person, right? I read once that Richard Branson does all his business by intuition. He knows he's going to do business with someone by a handshake, which, by the way, if you have a weak handshake, work on it. Um, but I'll tell you, as again, study myself, study how our mind works, study how our behavior is. When someone has a weak handshake, this is how the body expresses what's going on in the mind. When I shake someone's hand and I get that, what do they call it, the fishtail? Immediately, regardless of what the bravado they put on, I can instantly feel there's a confidence issue. They're not sure of themselves. They're a little shy. They're uncomfortable. It is being expressed through the body, through that handshake. So this is probably why when Richard Branson does, he can tell by someone's handshake if he's going to do business with them. And lastly is reason. This is the ability to think, and to accept or reject ideas or thoughts. Thinking is the highest function that we are capable of, but it takes effort to think. The majority of our thoughts are the same thoughts we had yesterday and the day before and the day before that. And it's like living the same day over and over. Again, 96 to 98% of our thoughts and results come from habit, not from actual thinking. We are operating on default most of our day. So here's the exercise. Stop and think before you speak. We've all heard this many times, especially growing up, right? To be able to stop and think before reacting is known as responding. When we think first, we respond in a calm manner. We're in control. When we react, we are letting our outside circumstances control us and get the best of us. Think about, I think the best example is when someone cuts us off in traffic. I will honestly tell you, I used to be a reactor, right? I got so mad when someone would cut me off. Now, it doesn't affect me now. Now, to be honest, I wish them well. I hope that everything is okay. I hope that everybody is safe. Because think about it, the majority of us are not intentionally cutting off people. Typically, they may just not be aware. Maybe they didn't see your car, or maybe there's an emergency where they need to get through traffic. So I wish them well. Before, I would be angry. Sometimes, depending on what kind of day I had, that anger may have carried over to dinner time. Maybe I talked about it at dinner. Now think about it. I could have been having an amazing day. Do, 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 do. Somebody cuts me off. I get angry. I don't know this person, never see this person again. Yet they took my joy away. I allowed them to take my joy away. And now I'm bringing it into the dinner table. Think about that. That is letting outside circumstances and conditions control you. So as I start to wrap up these tools, everyone has them, each and every one of us, but we need to understand what they do and practice them, exercise them. If we're not familiar with them or how to use them to our benefit, we become victims of our outer world. Again, think about the person cutting you off. Are you reacting? Or are you going to start to work your mental muscles, think first, and then respond in a calm manner? That is being in control of your thoughts. Because if nothing changes, nothing changes. Okay? To live the life you truly want, you must go within. You must learn and apply these tools on a basis. But I don't want to do that, Lou. You must do it if you want to live the life that you want. This is the life that's been handed down to you, and it's habit, it's familiarity, it's your comfort zone. All right. Detach from the outer world. Be aware of what's going on around you. Be informed, but don't get pulled into it. Don't get pulled into the fear, the drama, the scarcity. It's all around us. Our environment supports that kind of thinking. When you want to think about, use your will. I reject all those ideas. I reject what's coming into me from my outer world. I'm going to focus, I'm going to use my will on what it is that I truly desire, right? So that is a wrap. I thank you very much for joining me today, whether it's live or whether you're catching the replay. Also, I just wanted to share with you, I am starting a new Thinking into Results group for growth-minded entrepreneurs who want to up-level their results in life. And this program is for personal and professional development. If you are tired of trying to do it on your own, year after year after year after decade after decade, then reach out to me today. Thank you again, and I will see you next week. And my apologies for the technical snafu. Have an awesome day. Thank you.